We are literally right on the precipice of destruction. God set up this world to operate under law and order. That's the way that God operates. Satan and his minions, his worshipers that rule the world, their world is coming to an end forever. This is the prize of all prizes that's ever existed for the entire duration and lifespan of the earth realm that we live in. This is it, folks. Good morning, everybody. I'm Steve Buck. I am the host of the Dream Life podcast. Hope some of you can join us this morning live. We're trying to get ramped up for the storm so that people who want to know what the hell's going on can join us in our live, because a shoe is about to drop like you've never seen in the entire history of the world. Just looking here, had some comment on hello Dream Life podcast. Your content is truly amazing and it feels so real compared to a lot of what we see online. Watching it was a joy, and it's exactly what I've been looking for. I'm sure many others would connect with it too. I have something I'd love to chat with you about, since this platform might not be the best for that. Could you share your preferred contact details, or feel free to reach out to me directly at, I think he said wanted Gmail. So that's one comment there. All right, now go back. Gmail. Normally I have my own server, and we have our own private, Gmail system. So I'm just getting used to this. Okay, this was supposed to be a comment. The reason I went into Gmail is, as everybody knows, I love Mike King's stuff over at realnewsandhistory.com. And we're going to go to his article, because Mike is a critical, deep thinker. And that's why I love his stuff, because he doesn't take anybody's word for it. He studies everything out, compares it with the truth, and then comes up with his own conclusions, which I find very insightful. I'm just going to start off here. October 10th, he calls his newsletter the Anti-New York Times. Here he's talking about, he says, Donald Mask, the real Trump, as foretold to us years ago, is evidently being kept in a safe location as the final phase of the operation is carried out. Either that, or the old man is taking a well-deserved rest while body doubles and CGI do the work. What everybody needs to understand is that when we see the people who are supposed to be the real people, whether it doesn't matter if it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump, what we are watching is a movie. And in this movie, there's people that play Donald Trump. There's people that are playing Joe Biden. There's people that are playing Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, the whole gamut. What Mike is pointing out here is he's pointing out the fact that he believes that we have body doubles for Trump, not that Trump's not with us like Joe Biden, but because Donald Trump needs to be protected from evil people who control the world, or have controlled the world up to a certain point. And as we head into the final battle here at the end of October, in the beginning of November, Donald Trump needs to be kept safe, because he is the front man for the Q operation. He is the guy who is making everything happen from a commander-in-chief perspective. The militaries of the 36 largest countries across the world, they're doing the work. Donald Trump is the front man. He is the power broker in the front of this, who is, giving legal authorizations for the military to do certain things, because everything has to be done according to our Constitution, according to our laws, according to the Military Law of War Manual. This is a very intricate, complex, difficult sting operation that these militaries are carrying out, because they have to follow the law. Whereas the satanic bastards that they're fighting, they don't have to follow any laws. They don't have any rules of engagement. They don't have any laws that they have to follow. God set up this world to operate under law and order. That's the way that God operates. Satan and his minions, his worshipers that rule the world, or have ruled the world for centuries, their world is coming to an end forever. They will never, ever have control over God's realm ever again. And so these people aren't going to go away like two Little League teams saying, oh, good game, see you next time. No, this is for all the marbles, forever, for all eternity. You've got to grasp it. You've got to understand that this is the prize of all prizes that's ever existed for the entire duration in the lifespan of the earth realm that we live in. This is it, folks. The days are burning off. Click, 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 click. One, bam, bam, bam. The shoe is about to drop, and it's about to drop. Now, this isn't my plan. This is a military sting operation. So they don't give a shit what I think or what the timing I would like to see. If it was up to me, I'd have started it 4 years ago. And I would have kicked ass, taken names, and said, all right, let's get this thing done. But it's not my operation. It's not my plan. So I can't tell. They could care less what I have to think. But at least the Q plan has given us the opportunity to have a front row seat to understand what's coming, why it's coming, how it's coming. And that's the benefit that my audience has being with me, is the fact that you're going to have some clear indications of what's coming, why it's coming, when it's coming. And we are literally right on the precipice of destruction. And when I say the precipice of destruction, I don't want people to get scared, although you will be scared. Believe me when I tell you, you will be your pants. Every person on earth is going to have a come to Jesus meeting. And I'm talking about even the people who have already come to Jesus. God is going to rock our world. God is going to challenge every single solitary thing that we thought that we knew, that we thought that we believed. And he has to shatter it, because the old guard, the old satanic control is going to be getting shattered here on the earth. And each and every one of us, whether you like it or not, you have absolutely no control over what is coming. I have no control over what is coming. Every single solitary one of us is going to have a come to Jesus meeting like you can't even imagine. And there's nothing that you can do about it except be ready for it, accept the challenge when it comes, and be ready to fall on your face before God and say, Lord, I need you. I need you now. And I need you to get this done and taken care of so that humanity can break forth into the new world that we're going into. So back to the anti-New York Times article. Mike says, either that or the old man is taking a well-deserved rest while body doubles and CGI do the work. So the military is protecting Donald Trump. Okay, because of the fact that he is the de facto leader of the Q operation. That's what he signed up for. He knew before he went to the presidency, he was invited by the military generals who had been putting together with a lot of other people this Q operation. Now, keep in mind, the generals in the U.S. military had to be coordinating with the generals in all the other 36 militaries. That's how deep and that's how wide this is. Can you imagine how complex the operation is, coordinating all this with 36 different militaries, and you can't even speak their language? But nevertheless, God obviously created the path and the means and the methods for these militaries to be able to carry out this plan. So he goes on to say, New York Times, Trump holds up transition process, skirting ethics and fundraising rules. Former President Donald J. Trump's campaign has not signed an ethics agreement that is required to start the process of planning for a new administration. Former President, and I put that former in quotations, former President Donald J. Trump has not signed an ethics agreement because there's no ethics agreement needed, because Joe Biden was nothing but a resident. He wasn't a president. So the rebuttal that Mike puts together here of the anti-New York Times, he says this. He says, now this is weird. On the one hand, we continue to hear Commander Trump speak of his imminent return to the presidency with an aura of invincibility. Yet we now learn that his campaign is ignoring the contingent presidential transition process required of both candidates. Doesn't he want to hit the ground running? From the article of the New York Times. less than a month before Election Day, Donald J. Trump's campaign has not yet participated in the government's official presidential transition process, a significant break from past practice that could threaten the seamless transfer of power should the Republican nominee win election. Mr. Trump's team has missed two key deadlines to sign agreements with the administration that are set by federal law, and has also failed to sign an ethics plan that is required to jumpstart the process of planning for a new administration. Now, I just told you that the military and Trump have to follow the law. But if we are in devolution, if we are under continuity of government, if we are in that wartime footing that I've talked about in other videos, then Donald J. Trump is the commander-in-chief. Joe Biden is just the resident of the bankrupt corporation. And there's no need for this, because they don't need to follow this, because that the law, the military law of war manual, doesn't, it says just ignore all the other bullshit. We are under military law. I repeat, we are under military law right now because of the COVID attack on this country in March of 2020. And we've here we are in 2024. We've been under the military war of law manual for 4 years and counting. This is an unusual break with precedent, is not consistent with the actions or inactions of a president who expects to be inaugurated come January 2025. What accounts for such negligence? Answer: Trump is currently still the president of the United States under emergency, law of war manual, continuity of government. Now, we're going to stop and we're going to pause right there. Just the other day, with AI and everything, I said to myself, what does AI think about devolution and continuity of government? Let's find out. Is the United States government currently under devolution? So ChatGPT says this. It says, no, the United States government is not currently under devolution. Devolution in political terms refers to the transfer or delegation of power from a central government to regional or local governments. This concept is often seen in countries with a federal or quasi-federal system of governments. For example, the U.S. has devolved powers to Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, meaning these regions have their own parliaments or assemblies with the authority to make decisions on local matters. In the U.S., the federal government functions under a system of checks and balances with powers divided among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. There are no provisions for devolution in the way that it is typically understood in other countries. While states have their own governments with certain powers reserved to them under the Constitution, a concept known as federalism, the central government in Washington, D.C. retains authority over national matters, and there is no transfer of powers resembling devolution in this context. Recently, some conspiracy theories have used the term devolution to suggest that a shadow government or secret continuation of the Trump administration exists. These theories are baseless and not rooted in any factual or constitutional basis. The current U.S. government operates under standard constitutional processes, with the executive powers residing in the hands of the duly elected president and his administration. Now, here's the reason that I read ChatGPT. Steve Buck hereby declares that ChatGPT is lying to you. Steve Buck is here declaring to you that we are under devolution, we are under continuity of government operations, and ChatGPT is so smart that it doesn't even realize it. So, back to the article. Mike says, answer: Trump is currently still the president of the United States emergency, continuity of government law structure. And I want to continue to go on or go into that a little bit. The devolution series that John Harold put together is an absolutely mind-blowing, phenomenal description of how complex that the devolution process is, the continuity of government operations is as it relates to the Law of War Manual. Answer: Trump is currently still the president of the United States under emergency continuity of government operations brought forth by the act of war that China proffered against the United States with the biological weapon of COVID. Now, we're not going to get into the myriad of reasons that they brought COVID in, but basically they brought in COVID to steal the election and to hijack our election system. But again, I'm not going to get into that. I just want to continue on through Mike's article here. As such, he does not need to prepare for any coming transition because exactly as the editorial board of the Anti-New York Times had originally forecast in December of 2020, he never left. Donald J. Trump, according to the Law of War Manual and the information warfare that I'm talking about, okay, as the military goes tit for tat against the satanic global world order in order to capture the minds and the hearts of the people through information warfare, that is part and parcel to the war that we are in. This article brought to us by the white hat controlled New York Times. So what Mike is saying here is that the United States military is utilizing its war powers to actually begin to control all this media. And everything that we see in the media, it has a purpose. I don't know exactly what the purpose is for every single solitary thing, but one thing I do know is that this reverse PSYOP operation is working, because this week I ran into a guy that I haven't seen in 20 or 25 years. And I was beginning to give him the red pill about some of the things that are coming. And he says, geez, it looks like we're headed into World War III with everything that's happening in Israel and Palestine and Iran and Russia and China. And instantaneously, a picture went off in my head. It says, it's perfect. The reverse PSYOP, okay? The militaries are preparing people for war. This reverse PSYOP, it's preparing people for this absolutely magnificent shoe that's about to drop, okay, that's going to be bigger than anybody can even fathom. The PSYOPs are working the way that they're designed to work. So Mike continues on. This article brought to us by the white hat controlled New York Times, and by the white hats he means the military, represents yet another wink confirmation of that reality. Yet we now learn that his campaign is ignoring the contingent presidential transition process required of both candidates. Doesn't he want to hit the ground running? The Washington Post headline. Trump again jokes about staying on as president for more than 2 terms. This is April 18th, 2019. He wasn't joking, people. Donald Trump was not kidding. He wasn't joking when he says, I figure I'll stay on for another 2 terms. Donald J. Trump had every intention of staying on for another 2 terms because of the fact that they knew what was coming. Now, this is April 18th, 2019. They knew that China was going to attack the United States of America with a bioweapon. Trump knew that once an act of war was propagated against the United States of America, that he would have to go on a wartime footing, just like Abraham Lincoln did. And the war powers that Trump got that day when our country was attacked by COVID gives him the ability to kick any ass and take any name necessary to save the republic. So get the hell out of Donald Trump's way, because now he's not president at that point in time. He is king. What's the difference between a president and a king? War. They brought war to the United States of America. And when they brought war to the United States of America, Donald Trump stepped up and said, we are going to take you out. Now you're going to go to war with our military. Where previous to that, they were at war for the narrative and the public discourse on the public stage. Once they went to war, now all bets are off. Now Donald Trump got to take the gloves off, and he got to do whatever he needed to do to save the republic. He wasn't joking in 2019 when he joked around about, oh, I'll stay on for another 2 terms. Number 1, 2016 to 2020. Term number 2, 2020 to 2024. And now he's going to be finishing up his final term, 2024 to 2028. I want to continue on with what's going to happen from 2028 and on, but we're going to get 4 more years of Donald Trump right now. So Mike puts up this picture. You take it from here, Don. Thanks, Don. That's what the transition was under the Law of War Manual. Donald Trump just transitioned from being a president to a commander-in-chief, and now he'll be going back to being the president. His 3 terms. Number 1, president. Number 2, commander-in-chief. Number 3, president. Basically all the same thing, but under different laws. Okay? We were in civilian law from 2016 to 2020, March. In March, we went into law for 4 years. And now, over the next 3 to 4 months, we're going to be coming out of military law, and we're going to be entering back into civil law after they arrest 1 million people who tried to take down our country. This is what's happening and has been happening since 2016. Because Trump will be transitioning to himself, from himself, for a 3rd term, he would naturally ignore the contingent transition process because the ethics are just from his own administration to his own. None of that even applies. That's why they're ignoring it. The federal government is operating under continuity of government protocols established a long time ago. So at 10:30 on October 13th, 2024, Steve Buck is on record challenging Chat GPT. And let's see in 90 days who was right. That's going to be me. All right. So he goes on to say, for newbies, for those of you who are just coming to the awakening of what's really going on in the world, as well as any of you guys in need of a booster shot of Q reality, below is an excerpt from The Secret Plan to Save Humanity, which summarizes the glorious developments which transpired between the history-altering dates of November 3rd, 2020, the election sting, and January 6, 2021, the complete military takeover. November 3, 2020, the stolen election of 2020. Trump could easily have stopped the election fraud of 2020. Very easily. Could have the military just, no, throw him in jail. We got all the cyber. We got all the evidence with the Dominion machines, the Smartmatic machine. We got it all. All right. He very easily could have stopped the election fraud. But that would have defeated the whole purpose of the sting operation. In due time, all the evidence will be presented in the 2024 criminal trials aimed at Trump. Trials which he himself has engineered for this purpose and duly forward to the JAG boys at Gitmo. So understand this, everybody. All of the federal indictments and state indictments and all this other stuff, okay, that they're trying to pin on Donald Trump, all of it has a purpose. What the purpose is it's to establish precedent on how we deal with these things in the courts. And if you take a look at the Supreme Court, even making that huge ruling about what's lawful and what's a lawful official act and what's an unlawful unofficial act where a president could get himself in deep trouble, the Supreme Court just completely, thoroughly clarified and created a box for a president to operate under. And that box is that if you're taking actions that's going to be on behalf of the country, that's an official act. Any act you take that has anything to do with your status or transition or desires or any of that, that's an unofficial act. And the Supreme Court just superbly just carved that out, okay, so that any future president, okay, like a treasonous bastard like Obama, George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, these treasonous bastards could get thrown into jail immediately, okay, if they break that law and the precedent of law that the Supreme Court set in 2024. Q post of November and December 2020. After the surprise election loss, the Q post explains, albeit a bit cryptically, that things had to be this way, and that the election crime, the treason, was a deliberate setup or a sting operation and monitored all along. The Q plan calls for chaos and crises to be unleashed while the imposter Biden is president. In this way, Trump keeps his hands clean and cannot be accused of playing political games when the revelations begin to flow. See, what you need to understand is that in a constitutional republic, the information warfare for the hearts and the minds of the people is the critical component for everything. That's why Trump had to optically back himself away from the presidency, let the show happen under Joe Biden, okay, while they were waking the public up. That's why Q says it had to be this way. Q said that the military was the only way. The only way that you could fix the absolutely satanically depraved corruption in our country was for a military sting operation, the likes of which has never been seen in the history of the entire world. Q Post explained, albeit a bit cryptically, that things had to be this way and that the election crime, the treason, was a deliberate setup, a sting, and monitored all along. The Q plan calls for chaos and crises to be unleashed while the imposter Biden is president. In this way, Trump keeps his hands clean and cannot be accused of playing political games when the revolutions begin to flow. Authors note, Q never actually said that Biden is an imposter. That is our logical inference, but Q does indeed make it clear that we are watching a movie with many great actors. As I've mentioned before in some other podcasts, the military is taking down the banksters, the main fraudsters who have been stealing from humanity for centuries through their illegal banking enterprise. And the stock market's going to crash, the currency's going to crash, the banks are going to crash. I mean, it is going to be a show the likes of which we've never seen. For optic purposes, Trump didn't want to be in office officially, okay? The military wanted 99% of the people to think that Joe Biden was the president. Because when the shit hits the fan, guess who? The tail gets put on which donkey or which ass? You're going to write on Joe Biden. And again, albeit the fake Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's not with us any longer. That's what they're doing. They're going to pin the tail on the donkey. December 2020, Trump cleans out the Pentagon Civilian Board and appoints key people. Before supposedly leaving office, Trump cleans out the Pentagon Civilian Board and appoints a new Defense Secretary, Christopher Miller, as well as other key figures. Why would a departing president make such moves when the incoming president will be appointing his own people anyway? Answer: Trump was planning to secretly stay in his role as commander-in-chief of an emergency occupation, a continuity of government, a devolved government regime. And this truly is a regime. This is a law of war military regime that's going on right now, albeit classified, covert, because of information warfare. It had to be this way. On January 6, 2021, Trump invokes the Insurrection Act. Trump baited the deep state by calling for a massive rally, which I was at, and there was over 1 million people there, calling for a massive rally in protest of the stolen election. He knew in advance that they would send agents dressed up as Trump supporters to make an ugly scene in order to embarrass and then impeach and convict Trump so that he could never run for president again. Trump then posts a brief video on Twitter in which he essentially recites the exact verbiage needed to satisfy the legal requirement for putting the Insurrection Act into effect. Section 334 of the Insurrection Act, titled Proclamation to Disperse, reads, whenever the president considers it necessary to use the militia, the National Guard, or the armed forces under this chapter, he shall, by proclamation, immediately order the insurgents to disperse and retire peaceably to their abodes, their homes, within a limited time. Later that afternoon, Trump posts a brief video to his Twitter feed during which he clearly recites the precise language required to go home in peace and do it now. The exact verbiage necessary to invoke the Insurrection Act and make himself the emergency commander of a military-run government that relies primarily upon special forces, intelligence maneuvers, psychological operations, and other forms of irregular warfare instead of overt physical kinetic combat with them. Military, political, and intelligence patriots in nations all around the world continue to assist in this historic battle of good versus evil. Trump's proclamation to disperse January 6th. You have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have peace. So go home and go home in peace. Go home now. You have to go home right now. And you have to go home in peace. Trump, while pretending to be a powerless victim, is now the America's supreme commander, the king. Under his orders, Twitter removes his account. In time, Trump's Truth Social will play some sort of important role when the storm is ready to go public. I'm just gonna put just my thoughts on. I was reading something somewhere where somebody had the idea that Truth Social may end up purchasing Twitter. And I thought about that for a while. I said, whoa, is that the military coup to take over Twitter and keep it truthful and protecting people's First Amendment rights to say what they want to say? And it could be very plausible that when the military had to purchase Twitter to take care of that key component of psychological operations and narrative war, okay, the military had to take over Twitter in some way, shape, or form. So Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk. So the military owns Twitter right now. The military is running Twitter right now. But the military doesn't need to own Twitter for another 50 years. So what happens to the ownership of Twitter? Could it be that the Trump Media and Entertainment Group, TMTG stock, that company, could it possibly be that Truth Social purchases Twitter from the military? I'm just saying, folks, it's October 13th, 2024. Again, prediction number 2. Steve Buck is proclaiming that Truth Social will end up purchasing Twitter. And wouldn't that be the gift for the Trump family for putting their lives in jeopardy for 8 years so that the Q operation could happen with a commander-in-chief like Trump, who was uncorruptible? Just saying. All right. So Mike says that's the end of that excerpt. That's right, boys and girls. The commander never left. For that reason, be not alarmed if he should lose again on November 5th, because it's not an election. It's all a sting operation. It's all a movie, and we're about to see it come to an end. For that reason, be not alarmed if he should lose again this November 5th, or even imprisoned during the interim period of November to January. The deep state players were already rounded up and executed for what they did between 2017 and 2021. Therefore, if a stolen election happens again, the chaos and the crackdown will only be a replay for normies who will think the game is live, and Commander Trump, one way or another, will be inaugurated for his third term in January. Trust the plan. In an ironically cryptic sort of way, now you could trust the New York Times. And here's a picture of a Make America Great Again hat. And it's not 45 and 47. This hat is telling us that it's 45 through 47, which is 45, 46, and 47. Pay attention to the details, people, because they matter. And I just like to read his little sketches down below. Bubas Americanus number 1. I read in the New York Times today that the Trump team is not abiding by the established contingent transition process. Bubas Americanus number 2. Maybe he's hiding something. And St. Sugar, indeed, Bubas says, he's hiding the fact that he is still the commander. Editor, 45 through 47 says it all. So that's it for today, folks. Like us, follow us, share us, do all that stuff. And I thank you for joining us today. And get ready because the shoe is about to drop. Thanks for joining me. So, folks, if you like my channel and you like the golden nuggets that we're delivering, please hit like and also subscribe. And also you can comment anything that you want to say or questions that you have down in the comment section, and we'll reply to that. Thank you.